Hello, YouTube. It's been a while since I've done a Ramble video. Welcome all of the subscribers I've gotten since the last Ramble. If you don't know, this channel was started for me to have an outlet, and the pinnacle of the outlet function of my channel is the Ramble video. I like talking about certain topics, like the great debate community. I like to talk about my life as a non-believer and how I have certain struggles living in America as a non-believer. And I also like to talk about activism a lot, and just showcase it as it is without commentary as well on this channel. And what's different about my channel, one thing that is very different, is I'm not one of those people who thinks that the discussion has gotten too old for it to be relevant anymore. I do see that in a lot of my contemporaries, a lot of my peers on YouTube that have been around for as long as me and talked about the same thing. They seem to think that everything's already been said and done. And so there are a couple of them that actually seem to be running on autopilot and making the same video every 10 videos. Like there's 10 videos they make, and they just do a cycle of like the same thing over and over again. And, you know, Is it all babies are atheists season again? It's warming up. Anyways, the notion that there's nothing left to be had because all the conversations have already happened is something that kills the output of certain YouTubers, but it inspires other YouTubers to just talk about other things and do other things with their channel. And I suppose I have had a little bit of the latter when I just got bored of talking about myself as if I'm some sort of litmus test for, how non-belief will affect a person when they're faced with so much religious inundation in their lives. But I have thought about, there is a pattern that you can see on YouTube, like with certain YouTubers growing as a person, both the atheists and the theists that they are having discussions with. You see a pattern, and I suppose some people get tired of seeing the pattern because as soon as you see some growth in the set of people that you've been watching, a new set of people comes along, and they are still stuck on rungs below the growth that you have become accustomed to watching. It seems like every day somebody else has to be taught a lesson that everyone here already knows, and why do we have to bring them up to speed, So I can see how that would be grinding on some people in a way that would make them bored of religious debate. And when I speak of these rungs, this like as if it's a ladder. Like there's the newbie atheist and the newbie theist, right? The newbie religious person over here, and they each, by talking to each other, progress to being wiser. some people don't think that anyone changes on YouTube or even in real life. Some people, they think that you're never going to change anyone by having a conversation on YouTube. But I know, at least for myself, that is not the case. And also, people have told me that I have had a positive impact on their lives. So I think that naysayers are a horrible thing as far as killing people's motivation. But if I were going to try to think of what were the stages, I could come up with the likely predictable stages that new YouTubers on both sides would come through. And I could probably tell you what I think is the pinnacle of what a good atheist goal would be, and a good, role model for religious people would be, Let's say we're just starting with the atheist, okay? What does a brand spanking freaking new atheist who just realized that he is an atheist, what is he like? What does he do? First of all, they prefer to stay in the dominant culture around them, and they don't like to rock the boat. This is the atheist that prefers to say that Christmas is for everyone, and still put up Christian-themed ornaments on the Christmas tree. Like, this is the atheist that still celebrates Easter, okay? This is the atheist that regards Christian culture as superior. As if pagans and atheists and anything else, it's just not as valid. They're an atheist themselves, but they see the Christian culture as being superior. And at this lower level, they'll have like deprecating attitudes towards themselves. They just don't think anything good of themselves at all for being an atheist. And they don't like other atheists. They think that a lot of them are too harsh. They are fighting a fight that can never be won. So they have a lot of low self-esteem and internalized bigotry. They accept what they hear about themselves as atheists, and then they grab that gun, point it right at themselves, and start shooting out their own heart with all that bigotry. And very commonly, they will say things like, "I'm not like those atheists. I have problems with what I see. I'm just questioning." And they sometimes have shame with the way that there aren't a lot of accepted traditional things with atheism. So they feel shame when they don't have something like a cross to wear around their neck. They feel shame that there aren't a lot of positive atheist role models on TV. But then, like, when they're climbing the ladder, when they pull out of that stage, I'd say that they're feeling a little bit of conflict. Like, there's what they see in the world, and what they hear from the dominant culture of religious people around them. There's like, you start to meet other atheists, and you realize, well, shit, they don't eat babies, you know, and they don't worship Satan, and they're not actually very selfish people. They're actually very drawn to being charitous, and so there's this conflict, this dissonance, this cognitive dissonance, right? And it's hard for them to stop the self-deprecating jokes and the self-deprecating things that they say about themselves and other atheists. But there's a struggle to stop. And then there's a certain point where the awareness of religious bigotry happens. Okay, like someone explains the actual definition of bigotry, and then poof, worlds open, and they're like, oh my goodness, eyes opening. And they start questioning all those stereotypes about atheists and baby eating and sacrificing cats. They'll say things like, why should I feel ashamed of who I am, And they'll start saying things like, no, you don't have to believe things on faith. Why? You tell me that I have to, but why? And then you get the YouTuber, that starts really interacting with the other atheists on YouTube, and they start to publicly endorse some of the different sayings that go around, the memes. They'll become a bit more liberal on average. They feel guilty, and they feel shame for what they used to be, especially how they would treat atheists when they were part of that dominant culture of religious people. They really feel like they were sold lies by the dominant culture. That's one of the feelings that you'll see from their videos. They'll say, I was told this, 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 and this, and it all turned out to be bullshit. They start to have, instead of a deprecating attitude towards themselves, it starts getting directed back at that dominant culture. You might see some meme pictures interspersed within their video. And then they'll be like Carl Sagan quotes. Or one of the horsemen, something, and then like they'll be plastered over like a picture of space, like the Eagle Nebula or something. They start learning about the history of atheism that you never hear anywhere else. They actually start researching it on their own. And you start to see a degree of them separating themselves from that culture that, they used to have. You'll start to see people say, no, I'm not going to paint Easter eggs this year. Why? Why would I? And so on with all the other holidays. Then you get like another level of atheists. We're getting towards the ones where they start to feel like um, this has been going on for a while. You know, they get that sense of, wow, this has been a long struggle, and I am only one little piece of this huge mosaic puzzle. Um, and they start to they have a real discomfort with like rigid views and dogma. They have this desire for a positive self-definition, so they'll have the fight about the definition of atheism. Um, they start being more proactive, and they will attend meetup groups. Maybe they might partake in something on YouTube, like a Draw Mohammed Day, or some sort of tag that involves collaboration with other YouTubers, maybe making a collab video about some point that needs to be made about apologetics being wrong. There's kind of a general criticism of group ideology and groupthink becomes a bad thing. This is the kind of person that would really reach out to other people and maybe end their videos with, "What do you think?" You know, and give shout outs to other YouTubers who are atheist or friendly religious people, you know, who are good to discuss with. They'll start really trying to network with other people that they feel are positive in their search for real enlightenment on their path. And they start to grow out of just being reactionary against the dominant Christian culture. You know, it starts to be more about principles in general, you know. And then when you get to, like, say, near the high rung where most YouTubers kind of stop making videos when they're talking about this stuff. It's like a lot of them just kind of lose their motivation. They develop this inner sense of security, right? They can appreciate unique aspects of atheist culture as well as things from religious culture, so they can kind of pick and choose whatever they want. They don't feel bad about it. They start feeling like just a strong desire to get rid of oppression in any form. So they're quick to jump on like a cause, you know. It's rare that anything other than a good cause will get them to make a video or say anything or you know, be a part of the community of atheists at all anymore, because they just feel that sense of security in themselves. So, you know, it's something egregious needs to be addressed, and that's why they'll come out of the woodwork, you know. It's very cause driven and very emotional. there's a sense among them that whether you are an atheist or a religious person, you could still be an asshole, you know? And more important than whether you are of the same mindset or not is whether or not you are an asshole. And kind of just realizing in general that everyone's an individual and that grouping people together just doesn't make sense when you're dealing with people. And realizing that even religious people are victims of their own bigotry, in a way. You know, like, there's those that have to deal with the more bigoted members of their religion, and they don't like it. And, you know, reaching out to them and forming coalitions with them is possible when you realize that they too are just human beings, just trying to deal with all the assholes in the world. So that's like the progression of an atheist YouTuber, right? And now that I've said that, you know, it seems like, you know, if you've seen it a couple times, like over the span of a year or two from one YouTuber's videos, you know, one person that you're subscribed to, it seems like, you know, there are stages where people get stuck and stages where you know that person is, you know, next month going to be feeling this other feeling that you can kind of predict. You know, is that a bad thing? I don't know. It doesn't make me think that the conversation is boring. It just makes me realize that, you know, a lot of people are taking the same path to what they finally, you know, come to settle with. You know, that sense of security. You know, and after talking things out on YouTube for a long time, you're going to get more secure in whatever you're talking about. But there's also the other side of the coin here. Now, we've got a problem in the great debate community in that at a certain point, at a certain rung of development, many religious people leave YouTube because, you know, it really is kind of a troll fest, for one, and then two, you know, any sort of discussion where they are not having the upper hand is out there in the open, you know, and there's that feeling of, am I being a good emissary for Christ if I am, you know, making mistakes out in the open? But when we first find a new, fresh meat sort of religious person on YouTube, their attitudes are very centered around the religion that they come from. Normally it's Christian, but sometimes it's not. And they have little to no awareness of themselves as a person who could be bigoted. Like, they will feel like they are saving people and, you know, telling people the harsh truth is how they love people. You know? Telling you that you are going to burn in hell is a gift because they're warning you. You know? They largely regard their own religious culture as being superior, and they have attitudes about the other religions and non-religions that, they basically feel like they're all not as good. They they kind of think that Christian values and norms are the values and norms that everyone should have. You know, this is our system of measurement, and everyone should have this system. And they largely don't see how important differences are in people. They're like, well, people are people, and differences are unimportant. Everyone just needs to come to our way of thinking. That's your basic newbie to YouTube religious person. And then somebody finds that person and makes a response video. And then that person will all of a sudden be inundated with not just troll comments, but comments from people who genuinely disagree with whatever they're saying. And their moment of cognitive dissonance will happen, because they will see, well, holy crap, I said this thing that I didn't think could possibly be offensive, and yet here are some offended people. So they have to find a way to deal with, that, and how inconsistent their views get received on the large world market of, everyone in the world versus their own little pocket of church-going people that they know at home. They may, at that point, very early, realize that there's a sort of bigotry and racism within their own ranks of religion. They might see the racism as being more apparent than just regular bigotry of them believing that their religion is better than others. But it's easy to approach people and show them examples at that stage of, here's somebody from a church saying that Muslims are in league with the Antichrist, and we should kill all the muzzies, and they might have a sense of guilt and shame for being a part of that religious group in the past, and then they feel like, well, look, now I'm part of this denomination, and we're not down with that. But you might start to see acceptance of the reality that they were a perpetrator of that kind of bigotry and racism as a result of failing to speak out against it. So, you have the level 1 that just doesn't realize it, but then the level 2, the next rung up religious person will actually start to gain some respect from all other YouTubers by putting it out there what they're not down with as far as the bad Christians, the bad religious people. That's not good. Fuck you, Westboro Baptist Church, you don't speak for me, kind of stuff. Then you start to see, like, they'll start challenging their own bigotry. You know, after a while, and start making videos about not trusting their own culture and society, and feeling guilt. Some of them at that point will also, strangely enough, start adopting a different denomination and really identifying with that. And this could be even a different religion. Um, and it's weird. It doesn't happen in the other ladder, the non-religious ladder. It's a point where a an evangelical could become Catholic. It's a point where a Baptist could become a pagan, or a deist, or start saying, "I'm not religious. I'm just spiritual," things like that. And there's like a negative feeling about failure in life, like something that was being built towards, as far as those beliefs that had to be challenged in getting to this point. There's a sense of failure, like I need to get my life right and redirect myself. And then I would say, when you get to the ones that really stick around and become friends with the rest of the community, and not just other Christians, but atheists as well, they start to they make their own independent goals rather than reacting to what other religious people are saying, about their channel, or about what they believe. They just start to go their own way, and not adhere so much to a preset dogma or peer pressure. And that's something that, if they don't come to that point, then they might just leave YouTube. If they can't become that person, they might start barking back at those people that challenge them, but they also might just leave. There might be a thinning at that point. But also, like, you'll see that when someone's been around on YouTube as a religious person for more than 2 years, you see that they don't feel as guilty or defensive when you make the charge of bigotry that comes from religious people. They just don't feel like that applies to them. You're not attacking them by attacking this group that they happen to be a part of, in your words. They're like, well, let me just step outside of that group and say, look, this is me. And they find it easier to do that. And then, like, we'll just call this like the pinnacle of religious people, like the nicest religious people you're going to find. They get this sense of fulfillment with regards to religious identity, and a non-dogmatic religious person kind of emerges. They look at all the different things that they could be, and then just choose a path. But they'll have an increased appreciation for all the other paths and religious diversity. They will have a bit of an increased commitment to the eradication of bigotry. And again, just like the other pinnacle of atheist YouTubers, they will only come out of the woodwork for a cause. You know, this is part of the YouTube experience that kind of transcends whether you're religious or not, or what religion you are. It's more of a human condition. You know, once you get to this point of enlightenment and that top rung, it takes a cause to get you to react. And so I think it's kind of one way of seeing that, you know, we're not that different. You know, all of us being human for one, but also in the end, whether you stay believing in a God or not, there are still similarities that you will just, you know, come to realize, you know, when you get further on in this conversation. Similarities like not needing to hate the other side and having a better understanding of how they are humans too. There's, you know, if they stay religious at that high pinnacle, there's going to be this exploration of their own religion's culture and some of the better non-exploitive aspects of it, like what good does it bring to the world, rather than, you know, focusing on things like the Westboro Baptist Church where everything about them is bad. You know, they'll start focusing on the charity work that their religious organizations do, and just focus more on the positive, and be able to represent that in discussions. They might not be able to bring themselves to make a video about it, but say in a Google Hangout, they're going to drop in, and, you know, all the other YouTubers that have been around just as long as them say, hey, high fives. And then when somebody lodges the charge that religions do nothing but poison the world, they'll have a retort to that. They'll say, you know, but wait a second, you know, we do this, 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 and this, and that's not all bad. You know, soup kitchens, bitch, soup kitchens. And they kind of, they don't deny that personal responsibility for bigotry. You know, they're just not immobilized by guilt. You know, it's like you say, you guys have all this hate and stuff coming from you, and they'll be able to not have to defend themselves from that charge. They'll just say, you know what, this is the positive steps that we have been taking towards addressing that. And this is not just religion. This is people, you know. We're getting people to be more enlightened and be better people. So, you know, this is what we've done, you know, and this is what we plan to do in the future. And, you know, I'm rubber, you're glue sort of mentality really sets in. Like, you know, you're basically hating on the past, you know, and trying to keep people in this box that means that they can't progress because you say so. You know, like, yeah, slavery was justified by use of the Bible, but that doesn't mean that all people that are Christians now have to say, have to admit that they are slavery pro chains people. No, they can say, no, we're actually pro freedom, and we're working towards liberating oppressed people now, and here's what we're doing. And yeah, that happened in the past, and yeah, there's a bad history of a lot of different cultures, but here's what we're doing now. So yeah, I don't think any of that gets to be boring as much. I mean, on the whole, the glass is half empty, the glass is half full kind of aspect of this. It's like some people will see that everything has been said when they see that people follow a predictable progression. But what I see is new ways of saying things come to light, and new current events happen all the time to pepper in to these equations, these ladders that people climb, this path towards enlightenment. But moreover, what's exciting is that people keep changing, and people visibly, over the course of months of videos on YouTube, become better people. And I don't see how that can be boring. And if you're tired of watching people become better people, then maybe you're stuck in one of those rungs. I don't know. Maybe you're just not seeing it the way that I am. That people do change, and they do get better. And that's the end of my ramble, folks. Until next time, when I decide to sit down and talk for a long time with Mountain Dew as my fuel and my guiding power source.